So as we move forward in Algebra 2, we get into graphing of inequalities. An inequality is going to be anything that has a greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to sign. This one in particular happens to be greater than or equal to. Just like graphing lines, we want to make sure everything is in a form that we're familiar with. This isn't quite a form that we're familiar with, so I'm going to make it one. The easiest way that I can see to do this is to move it into standard form. I'm going to do that by adding 3y to both sides. Now if I add 3y here, I end up with just 12 on that side. And if I add 3y here, I cannot combine my 2x's and 3y's, so I just leave it as 2x plus 3y, and then I bring down my inequality sign. Is greater than or equal to 12. Now it's in standard form. I'm going to solve for my x and y intercept. My x-intercept will always have a y value of 0, so I'm going to fill that in right now. If I set y equal to 0, my 3 times 0 goes away, and I have 2x equals 12. I would then divide by 2 to get x is greater than or equal to 6. And fill that in right here. Next thing I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to take and solve for my y-intercept. The y-intercept will always have an x value of 0. If I take the x value and I plug it in for x, I end up with 3y is greater than or equal to 12. Divide by 3, and you get y is greater than or equal to 4. I'm going to substitute this in here. Now I've got 2 points. I want to graph both those points. 6, 0 is right here, and 0, 4 would be right there. Once you have your 2 points, instead of drawing the line right away, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, is this or equal to? If you have the or equal to line underneath your inequality sign, you know you're going to have a solid line. If it wasn't there, I'd end up with a dashed line, meaning that all the points on the line are included in the answer to this statement. The last thing I'm going to do is test a point, because the difference between graphing an inequality and an equality is that in an inequality, we need to shade one side of the line or the other. This line has now divided my graph into this section up here and this section down here. We'll call this above and this below. I can pick any point. A really easy point to pick is the origin. And the only thing I want to make sure is that my point is not on the line. So if I pick the origin, the point is 0, 0. Coming down here, if I'm testing this point, I'm going to plug the x and the y into my equation right here. 2 times 0 plus 3 times 0 is greater than or equal to 12. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0. When you add 0 and 0, you still have 0. 0 is greater than or equal to 12. That is not true. I know that that's not true, so I know that every other point on this side of the line makes it not true. Now, being that there's only 2 sides of the line, I know that if everything on one side is not true, everything on the other side has to be true, and I'll shade all of that area. that's how you graph an inequality from a standard form equation.